Okay, Trail of the Green Blazer by R.K. Narayan. So last class we discussed about the pre-reading activity about R.K. Narayan, and trail refers to search of. Here in this short story, a person is in search of the green blazer. Why, we will get to know. The green blazer stood out prominently under the bright sun and blue sky. In all the jostling crowd, one could not help noticing it. Means the green color was so evident that anybody could see person wearing that green color blazer. Villagers in shirts and turbans, townsmen in coats and caps, beggars bare-bodied and women in multicolored saris were thronging a narrow passage between the stalls and moving in great confused masses, but still the green blazer could not be missed. So you can understand the rural scenario where people wearing different kind of attire, and this green blazer could be seen. A person wearing green blazer could be seen in this crowd. The jabber and babble of the marketplace was there as people harangued, disputed prices, haggled, or greeted each other. Over it all boomed the voice of a Bible preacher, and when he paused for breath, from another corner, the loudspeaker of a health van amplified on malaria and tuberculosis. So this is a scenario of the marketplace where people are crowded, discussing about the business, about the financial interactions. Okay, he says, and one person wearing that green blazer is standing out. While this sight of the green blazer is visible, one could also hear the sirens of the ambulance. Over and above it all, the green blazer seemed to cry out an invitation. Raju could not ignore it. It was not in his nature to ignore such a persistent invitation. So in most of R.K. Narayan's, you find the character named Raju used predominantly. He kept himself half aloof from the crowd. He could not afford to remain completely aloof or keep himself in it too conspicuously. Wherever he might be, he was harrowed by the fear of being spotted by a policeman. Today, he wore a lion cloth and was bare-bodied, and half wound an enormous turban over his head, which overshadowed his face completely. And he hoped that he would be taken for a present from a village. Actually, the character by name Raju had disguised himself to escape from the police. So though he wanted to escape from police, this person who was wearing this green blazer attracted him. He sat on a stack of casks of banana stalks beside a shop, awning and watched the crowd. When he watched the crowd, he did it with concentration. It was his professional occupation. So keen observation of human beings was his professional occupation. Constitutionally, he was an idler and had just the amount of energy to watch in a crowd and put his hand into another person's pocket. So the profession of Raju is pickpocketing. Therefore, he was very much interested in crowd. He used to observe these people watchfully. It was a gamble, of course. Sometimes he got nothing out of a venture, counting himself lucky if he came out with his fingers intact. Fingers intact at times, people would have caught him. At times, even while pickpocketing, he could not get anything. Sometimes he picked up a fountain pen and the receiver behind the municipal office would not offer even 4 annas for it. Receiver means what? Receiver inverted commas means he used to sell his theft items to this person. So that person is called as receiver. Many a times, the theft goods will be sold at a very cheaper price. If the original price is 100 rupees, it will be sold for 10 rupees or 20 rupees. And there was always danger of being traced through it. Raju promised himself that someday he would leave fountain pens alone. He wouldn't touch one even if it were presented to him on a plate. They were too much bother, inky, leaky, and next to worthless. If one could believe what the receiver said about them, watches were in the same category too. So he is a habitual pickpocketer. Many times, whenever he used to do this theft, he used to get fountain pens and watches. But the main problem with this fountain pen and watches was it could be traced easily. Let's say if he sold it to that person, and again, if a buyer finds the same version of the pen, it could be easily caught, especially watches and pen. During those times, not during the present days, fountain pens were rare in number, therefore it could be traced. What Raju loved most was a nice bulging purse. If he saw one, he picked it up with the greatest deftness. Deft means skill. He took the cash in it, flung it far away, and went home with the satisfaction that he had done his day's job well. Not every time he used to get these purses. At times he used to get fountain pens, watches, but his main attraction was the hefty purse. He usually used to easily pickpocket the purse and take away the money and throw off the purse somewhere. And once he is done with one purse, he was satisfied. He splashed a little water over his face and hair and tied himself up before walking down the street again as a normal citizen. So after doing his work, he used to wash himself. He bought sweets, books, and slates for his children, and occasionally a jacket piece for his wife, too. It was not always easy in his mind about his wife. When he went home with too much cash, he had always to take care to hide it in an envelope and show it under roof time. So, doing this pickpocketing is not only a big thing for him, and protecting the money was also a big thing. After going home, he used to hide it from his wife under some time. Otherwise, she asked too many questions and made herself miserable. She liked to believe that he was reformed and earned the cash he showed her as commission. She never bothered to ask what the commissions were for. A commission seemed to her something absolute. This Raju used to lie to his wife. He used to say that I got this money because some commission. For the work I got the commission. Whenever he used to get huge amount of money, he found it very difficult to give an explanation to his wife. Therefore, he used to hide his money under some time. Raju jumped down from the banana stack and followed the green blazer, always keeping himself 3 steps behind. So now he's silence. I'll mark you people absent if I see you talking. So why this Raju is behind this green blazer is he thinks that there is some money. Therefore, he's following this person who is wearing the green blazer. He's just maintaining 3 steps distance. It was a nicely calculated distance acquired by intuition and practice. Means he was so skillful that he knew how much distance he had to maintain between the victim and himself. The distance must not be so much as to obscure the movement of the other's hand to and from his purse, nor so close as to become a nuisance and create suspicion. So he had become so skillful that he knew to what extent he should maintain the distance to do the pickpocket. It had to be finely balanced and calculated, the same sort of calculations as carry a shikari through his tracking of a game and see him safely home again. Only this hunter's task was more complicated. The hunter in the forest could count his day a success if he laid the quarry flat, but here one had to extract the heart out of a quarry without injuring it. So he's trying to say that a hunter's job in the forest is easier compared to a pickpocketer's job in a crowded market. In the forest, what happens? You have to just kill the wild animal and you have got it. But here, you're not supposed to kill and the person should not get to know that he's been pickpocketed. So he says the job is even more difficult. So how is it is described? You have to take the heart from the animal without injuring the animal. Is it possible? It is nearly impossible. Just like how in Merchant of Venice, okay, the Jew is said, take the heart, 1 pound of heart or 1 pound of flesh from this person's body without dropping up blood. So it's not possible. Raju waited patiently, pretending to be examining some rolls of rush mat, while the green blazer spent a considerable length of time drinking a coconut at a nearby booth. So Raju pretends to be shopping so that he does not want to create any kind of suspicion. It looked as though he would not move again at all. After sucking all the milk in the coconut, he seemed to wait interminably for the nut to be split and the soft white kernel scooped out with a knife. So he's describing how he enjoyed consuming the tender coconut and also the white material kernel. The sight of the white kernel scooped and disappearing into others' mouth made Raju too crave for it. But he suppressed the thought. See, look how minutely each and every activity of human beings are described. Here his job is to do this pickpocketing, but the victim is consuming this tender coconut and relishing the white kernel. So the way he is consuming it makes Raju also crave for it. But he suppressed the thought it would be enough to be spending one's time drinking and eating while one was professionally occupied. The other might slip away and be lost forever. Raju saw The other take out his black purse and start a debate with the coconut seller over the price of coconuts. He had a thick, sawing voice which disconcerted Raju. It sounded like a growl of a tiger, but what jungle-hardened hunter ever took a step back because a tiger's growl sent his heart racing involuntarily. The way the other haggle didn't appeal to Raju either. It showed a mean and petty temperament. The conversation this person wearing a green blazer had with that of a tender coconut seller made Raju feel uncomfortable. Too much fondness for money. Those were the narrow-minded troublemakers who made endless fuss when a purse was lost. The green blazer moved after all. He stopped before a stall flying colored balloons. He bought a balloon after an endless argument with the shopman. So he's describing the character of the person who is wearing this green blazer. He keeps on negotiating with prices with the sellers. Okay, a picture that this person being stingy is portrayed. He bought a balloon after an endless argument with the shopman, a further demonstration of his meanness. He said, "This is for a motherless boy. I have promised it him. If it bursts or get lost before I go home, he will cry all night and he would not like it at all." So this is what he is arguing with the balloon seller. Is saying, "I'm taking this to a boy who does not have any mother. Therefore, reduce the price, discount." Raju got his chance when the other passed through a narrow style where people were passing forth in order to see a wax model of Mahatma Gandhi reading a newspaper. So Raju finds that when people are crowded, people are getting crowded because they have to see the wax candle or wax statue of the Mahatma Gandhi. 15 minutes later, Raju was examining the contents of the purse. When everybody crowded, okay, to see the wax statue of Mahatma Gandhi, Raju is done with his job. Okay, has lifted the purse from this green blazer. He went away to a secluded place behind a disused well. Its crumbling parapet seemed to offer an ideal screen for his activities. The purse contained 10 rupees in coins and 20 in currency notes and a few annas in nickel material. He's talking about 1950s. If you ask your grandparents, they will have this 5 paise, 10 paise coins. Those were made of nickel material. Raju tucked the annas at his waist in his loin cloth. "Must give them to some beggars," he reflected generously. There was a blind fellow yelling his life out at the entrance to the fair and nobody seemed to care. So even in this looted money, he wants to do some charity. He says this nickel coins, 5 paise, all this should be given to beggars. He says nobody gave him any money to him, at least I will give. People seem to have lost all sense of sympathy these days. The 30 rupees he bundled into a knot at the end of his turban and wrapped this again round his head. It would see him through the rest of the month. With the 30 rupees, he could survive for 1 month. He could lead a clean life for at least a fortnight and take his wife and children to a picture. The 30 rupees during olden days, now today it is around 3,000. No, the purse lay limp with the hollow of his hand. It was only left for him to fling it into the well and dust off his hand, and then he might walk among the princes with equal pride at heart. He peeped into the well. It had a little shallow water at the bottom. The purse might float, and a floating purse could cause the worst troubles on earth. He opened the flap of the purse in order to fill it up with pebbles before drowning it. Now, through the slit at his side, he saw a balloon folded and tucked away. Oh, this he bought. He remembered the other's talk about the motherless child. What a fool to keep this in the purse, Raju reflected. It is the carelessness of the parents that makes young ones suffer, he ruminated angrily. For a moment, he paused over a picture of the growling father returning home and the motherless one waiting at the door for the promised balloon. And this growling man feeling for his purse, and oh, it was too painful. So after taking away the money from the purse, 30 rupees, 20 rupees and small nickel coins, he wanted to throw away the purse. Since he was seated near that well, he decides to throw it away inside the well, but he feels that this purse might float on water, which will create even more problems. Therefore, he tries to fill the purse with pebbles, with small stones. When he opens the purse, he finds this balloon, unblown balloon, which he had bought, saying that I want to give this balloon to the motherless child. Okay, at that moment, a thought comes to his mind, a vision comes to his mind about how will this small motherless child feel, because this motherless child is hoping for a balloon from his father, and how will this father feel? because this father has lost his purse, money, and on the one hand, he is unable to fulfill the promise of his son. He feels it is painful. Raju almost sobbed at the thought of the disappointed child, the motherless boy. There was no one to comfort him. Perhaps this ruffian would beat him if he cried too long. The green blazer did not look like one who knew the language of children. Raju was filled with pity at the thought of young child, perhaps of the same age as his second son. Raju had 2 children, I guess. Okay. And second son, this person was not of a second son age. That is the son of this green blazer person. Suppose his wife were dead. Firstly, it might make things easier for him. He need not conceal his cash under one roof. Okay, he tries to empathize the person wearing the green blazer. He feels if Raju's wife is dead, his life is more comfortable for him because he need not hide materials from hide money from his wife. He overcame this thought as an unworthy side issue. If his wife should die, it would make him very sad indeed and tax all his ingenuity to keep his young ones quiet. Means what? If his wife is no more, Raju's wife is dead, his life will be even more miserable because he has to take care of the young ones. The balloon could not be handed back. The thing to do would be to put it back into the empty purse and slip it into others' pocket. What option does he have now? He can't return that purse to the person wearing the green blazer. He will be caught. So what is the other option? The thing to do would be to put it back into empty purse and slit it into others' pocket, some other's pocket. Money he will have it with him. Only this purse with the balloon will be put in some other's pocket. The green blazer was watching the heckling that was going on as the Bible preacher warmed up to his subject. The semicircle was asking, "Where is your God?" There was a hubbub. Hubbub means mob voice. Raju sidled up to the green blazer, the purse with the balloon only. So his main intention was to please that motherless boy. He wanted to return that balloon along with the purse. Therefore, he again goes back to the crowd, identifies where this person wearing the green blazer is, and tries to insert the purse. The purse with the balloon only. That's why balloon only is mentioned in brackets. Tucked into it was in his palm. He would slick it back into others' pocket. Raju realized his mistake in a moment. The green blazer caught hold of his arm and cried, "Pickpocket." So the moment he tries to insert the pocket with the balloon, he is caught. The hecklers lost interest in the Bible and turned their attention to Raju, who tried to look appropriately outraged. He cried, "Let me go." The other, without giving a clue to what he proposed, shot out his arms and hit him on the cheek. It almost blinded him. The tight slap that he got, okay, he felt that as if he has gone blind. For a fraction of a second, Raju lost his awareness of where he and even who he was. When the darkness lifted and he was able to regain his vision, the first figure he noticed in the foreground was the green blazer. So many times, the tight slap will create that much of shock. Okay, he almost fainted. He did not know who he was and where he was. The moment he regained his sight, okay, the first thing that he sees is the green blazer. Looming as it seemed over the whole landscape, his arms were raised, ready to strike again. Raju covered at the side. He said, I was trying to put back your purse." The other gritted his teeth in fiendish merriment and pressed the bones of his arm. The person with the green blazer was so angry, he was not ready to listen to these words. He smashed him to such an extent that his arms were broken. The crowd roared with laughter and badgered him. Somebody hit him again on the head. Even before the magistrate, Raju kept saying, "I was only trying to put up back the purse," and everyone laughed. It became a stock joke in the police world. Raju's wife came to see him in the jail and said, "You have brought shame on us," and wept. Raju replied indignantly, "Why? I was only trying to put it back." He served his term of 18 months and came back into the world, not quite decided what he should do with himself. He told himself, "If I ever pick up something again, I shall make sure I don't have to put it back." So this is the lesson that he learned. For now, he believed God had gifted the likes of him with only one-way deafness. One-way deafness means what? I think you would have heard about this Mahabharata story where this Arjuna knows only how to enter the, what do you call that as? Arjuna knows only how to enter that thing, but does not know how to come. Chakravyuha. He knows only how to enter, to escape. Similarly, this Raju thinks that his only definite skill is how to pickpocket it, but not how to keep it back. So after spending 18 months in jail, he comes back home. Okay, then he realizes his only skill is to pick up the purses and not to insert it. Those fingers were not meant to put anything back. He says, my fingers are so skilled only to pick up the pockets, not keeping it back. Okay, glossary, harrow, cause distress, to haggle, dispute or bargain persistently, especially over the cost of something. Loin cloth, a single piece of cloth wrapped around the hips, typically worn by men in some hot countries as their only garment. Rumination, a deep or considered thought about something. Above, a chaotic din caused by a crowd of people.